Shamala, good morning and warmest welcome to the Genius Leadership Podcast.
Good morning. Thanks, Anna, for giving me a chance and opportunity to be part of this.
Oh, it's a pleasure and thanks for being a part of it. So, Shamala, before we go into the Mindkicker, can you tell us about yourself? What do you think is important for genius leaders listening to understand about your background for the conversation?
Okay, just that I'm a woman in my 50s. I have a background in auditing, financial compliance, and now run my own company as an interim consultant. I'm lucky I still have my mom around. I have 3 siblings, a husband, and 2 adult children. I was born and I grew up in Malaysia. I finished my studies in Australia, went to university in Australia as well, and then moved on to the UK, to London, and qualified as a chartered accountant and moved to Sweden in 1992. I've been very fortunate to have been brought up in Malaysia by loving parents. Unfortunately, my dad is no longer with us. But to be brought up by parents who had their early childhood very much affected by World War II and the occupation of Malaya by the Japanese has obviously influenced their way of thinking and their notion and definitions of sacrifice. And they have sacrificed a lot for the 4 of us, and we are all forever grateful for that. And we hope we always make them proud by doing our best in everything.
Why do you think it's so important to get this loving childhood or the childhood when you feel loved for the human in the adulthood?
I that's a really good question, because I think in the West, I mean, okay, now I'm living in Scandinavia, and of course, how we bring up our children has been colored by that. But in Asia, I mean, it's not important. It's not necessary for parents to say that I love you. It's what they do. It's shown in their actions, and I think, and for me, actions always speak louder than words. And to have and we were really blessed to have such a loving childhood, um with really great parents, has provided us with different sense of values and how we appreciate things in life. It's not always to have more, it's to appreciate what we have now. And to be perfectly honest, less is more.
Yes. But it's so hard for us to go against the narrative of materialism and consumption, right? Really
Right.
land into that platform. So, what are the actions that made you feel loved as a child from it? It's not about the words. What was it?
I mean, it's just the way that our parents, I mean, my parents always put our needs first. What's best for the children instead of what they would have liked to do. And I think that's very important. I mean, it's just the sacrifices. I mean, they would make sure that we had perhaps the things they never had when they were growing up. Obviously mirrored by the fact that they grew up during the Japanese occupation, right? And that's something that was very evident from a very young age for us. And looking back, and now when we have our own families, we're looking back. I mean, for me, it's a no-brainer really to give something up that I wanted so that my children can have it. It's a no-brainer. But I don't think it's very obvious for many.
No, and especially in the Nordics, I think when with the individualism, where we're trying to bring this up, like, okay, we need to be selfish. And to be honest, like that's what I'm teaching my clients as well: be more selfish, right? Not forget about themselves too much all the time. So there, it's about the fine line, right? Especially when it comes to children, when they are not like they're still dependent on you, right? For uh, physical matters, for their safety, but also how deciding you are as the figure for them in those formative years. So how do you find that balance? It's a very delicate line or thin line to walk, really. Do not forget about yourself and just dive into children, but at the same time, give them everything they need and more than that so that they feel loved. and appreciated as human beings early on.
But it's always a question of leadership by example. It's very simple. I mean, children will do as we do. They won't do as we say. It's extremely simple. And I've seen that in our children. So, and that's why I know that, okay, you didn't do too badly as a parent. And that's fine. I mean, and at the end of the day, what are my greatest accomplishments? I've raised two really great people. And that's important. So, and everything else fades away at the end of the day, And I always think like that because, I mean, it's very much culture. It's very much a culture thing as well, What do we leave behind? Very simple. Yeah. And you're right. I mean, we have to think of ourselves. You have to take care of yourself first, etc. The normal oxygen mask in the airplane.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's fine. Yeah, I can understand that. But at the same time, as you mentioned yourself, there always has to be a sense of balance.
So talking about your oxygen mask, what was the problem or the need that you wanted to fulfill with Mindkicker? Why did that concept attract you?
Okay. There was no problem as such. It was born out of curiosity because I'm always testing my limits. I always want to keep learning and keep growing. I don't think that, when you reach to a certain age, you just sort of sit back and let things just happen, right? I like to make things happen. I don't believe in letting things happen as such. And I had followed the Mindkicker program. I mean, your posts on LinkedIn and I was really, really curious. And as always, and we've talked about this before, for me, it had to be a question of timing. When would be the right time for me to join Mindkicker? 2023 was not a good time for me. So I said, okay, 2024, perfect. And I just wanted to test my limits. I just wanted to see what else is out there, because by the time you're in your 50s, you sort of you have your own habits, right? Good and bad. And then it's the question of, okay, is there something I can improve? Is there something that I can add on, which I was not aware of before? And I'm always interested in the physical limits because I love to test my physical limits, right? So I've done a few crazy things and I think, okay, what else can I do?
Maybe you mentioned that because I think it's fascinating, and you are the example of the testing the physical limits to me, Shamala. So maybe explain what you mean here to me.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, and those who are in Sweden, they would probably know about this. But for all our other Nordic listeners, well, in Sweden they have this sort of how shall I put it? They have these challenges which they sort of package together as one, which is called the Swedish Classic. Which is 4 events to be completed within 1 year. And it consists of 300 kilometers of cycling around the Lake Vättern in June. And then you swim up in Dalarna, 3 kilometers, and the water is really, really cold. And then there's a 30-kilometer cross-country run in Stockholm, and leading a loppet, which apparently is the largest cross-country event in the world. And then there's the cross-country skiing in Dalarna, where you can either ski the 60 kilometers or you can ski the 90 kilometers, which is the very famous Vasaloppet track, right? So I did that. I think the biggest challenge was probably the buying the racer in April of 2007 and cycling the 300 kilometers in June 2007. Yes, I did it. And there was a mind shift. We're cycling all night. And after that, in my mind, I mean, nothing was impossible. And I actually did both the 60 kilometers cross country and the 90 kilometers cross country 2 weeks in between. Event. That's good. Just to ensure that I would get my certificate stating that I completed the Swedish Classic. But I think the craziest thing was actually that I did the Swedish Classic and the Half Classic, which is sort of half the distances. I did them, certain events, I did them sort of one after the other. So on a Sunday, I cycled 150 kilometers. And then on the following Saturday, I went back to Mutola and I cycled the 300 kilometers. So anyway,
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Shamala to you. She does the backup plan.
I have a backup
Just
plan.
as big. It's the plan A.
And there's always a plan A, plan B, plan C as well. And we honestly hope we never get to plan C. Although there are some who claim you should never have a plan B because that means you would never be wholehearted in your plan A.
It depends. In your case, there was a good preparation for plan A, right? The plan B anyway. So it was part of it.
Well, that was part of it. So anyway, so and then once I completed this, I thought, oh, I have to start something new. Then I started, and I thought, oh well, I'll start running marathons, and that's my greatest passion right now. So I just keep doing it.
So all the marathons has been done since after 2007 then?
Since 2010.
10. And you've done 19 of full marathons.
Yeah, 19, yeah. So far.
Ladies and gentlemen, just a perspective. What we're talking about and why I said.
It's a good way to keep fit and, to have some sort of structure. Regarding a fitness program, I mean, 1 or 2 marathons a year and a few half marathons. I mean, it's really good. And I like to have structure. And as you know as well, and I truly believe in this, is that whenever we want to achieve something in an area where we have very little knowledge, we really should engage help from those who are experienced and those who are knowledgeable. Just like people come to you and, things like that. So I truly believe in that. And that's what I do. So I actually have, I follow a coaching program.
So you came to Mindkicker out of curiosity, you said, meaning you were in a very good space in your life. And it wasn't like, not like you're in a crisis, help. It was more like, what else is there? How can I level up myself further in ways that I have not explored so far?
Because otherwise, I'm always curious, and I've enrolled for so many university courses. I mean, I was studying Mandarin for 4 semesters and things like that. So, and I thought to myself, oh well, now it's probably a good time for me to explore something that's not so academic, in a sense, but would provide me the tools and maybe provide me some ideas that really needs to shake me up a bit. And I think it's good to have that now and then, actually. Otherwise, we get too comfortable in our own little way of doing things. Although we think it's a big and correct way, there might be other ways to do things too.
Mm-hmm. So did you find any new other ways for doing things during the Mindkicker? And okay, you're still in the midst of it, right? So we can talk about the kickoff experience specifically, and then we can go into the follow-ups, so the year journey.
Yeah, I mean, what did I like? I mean, it's an ongoing journey, as as we talked about in our follow-up calls. And for me, it's just perhaps slightly calmer, because I've always been, and still am, quite driven, which means that I am just like this engine that keeps going on. There are always new things popping up. And one thing that I think that I really appreciate from the course was the fact that it became clear to me it's quite okay for me to actually sit back and enjoy what I've achieved so far. Because I've always been sort of just going after the next target, and I really feel that, I've worked so hard for so many years, and I think that, well, I mean, actually in a space where I should be able to give myself a clap on the shoulder and say, well done, enjoy this moment, take it in, and then move on to the next, right? Otherwise, we just get so caught up, we're sort of chasing the next train, and we sort of forget that we're actually sitting on one train right now. So that's what I take with me. And I love the breathing exercises. They count which nostril to hold down, which I think was really good, Jonas. And I just love the fact that we actually had to be away without our mobile phones.
Mm. Yeah. How did you react, or what was the feeling within you when you received the email about that? The information that will take your phones away for the kickoff.
It was great.
Mm.
I thought perfect. For me, it was just like, wow, finally.
Someone's taking this thing away.
Well, and I told my family, I told my mom and my siblings and my husband and children. I said, there's only an emergency number, but otherwise the phone is switched off. I have no problems with it.
Not you. It was like, just take this thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
they want it back in the end. Nah.
Yeah. Remember, you saying, no, it's part of the deal. We're not supposed to get it back, right? Because it's such a distraction with the mobile phones. And I think it also, it's nice because it's sort of for myself and perhaps my fellow participants, it's also slightly nostalgic because how was it sort of maybe 20, 25, okay, not 25, maybe 30 years ago? There weren't mobile phones. Not mobile, I say, you had big ones, but but we still survived. We didn't come late for appointments. People still found each other and things like that. Now it's just absolutely chaotic without a mobile phone. It's like, oh my goodness, I don't exist basically. And no, I think it was good.
That's a good perspective, Shamala. Really. We did survive and we had good conversations. We had relationships with each other for real. So why not?
People still managed to meet each other at airports because some or other and say, oh yeah, my flight is arriving at 3 a.m. or whatever. That was no problem. I've traveled, without having a mobile phone. And it was, yeah, so and obviously the environment I think was really good. Just like really peaceful. Cold.
It was peaceful when you said peaceful because we had those windstorms as well.
It was peaceful for the soul. Does not mean that it has to be peaceful in nature, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes
as well.
Yeah, because sometimes you need the windstorms outside to still find the calm. And that to me, I think was perfect. Because you actually take time to appreciate what's happening outside in a different way. You can observe.
I want to go back to what you said there as the result so far for you, that you got calmer, that you got, in a way, gave yourself permission to sit back and enjoy the accomplishments and everything that you have achieved so far. I know a lot of leaders who are at that point when they really crave that, they really want that in their lives, but they're afraid that this will take their ambition and drive away. Could you address that concern from your experience?
It doesn't. Personally, it doesn't take away the ambition at all. I think it's two. You should actually think of it as two separate issues, really. Right? One is the ambition. The ambition is all. The ambition for me is always there. However, now the fact that I can say, oh yeah, you'll take a look back and say, yeah, wasn't too bad, right? Because in some sense it's also okay. It's a question of. If you were sort of if I was if I was the share on the stock market, right? Looking back at the graph, you just sort of say, wow, did well, okay, that's fine. And then you can just from there you can think, okay, what's the projection? And that's one way of looking at it. Because at the end of the day, right? If we look at it with the ambition, we always, perhaps a lot of people, even myself, maybe we look at ourselves sometimes as a commodity, right? And say, okay, because we attach a certain value to certain things, right? But what we should also attach to a value in, okay, how do I feel about what I've achieved so far? That is never going to be shown in the chart.
No.
Right?
No.
Never going to be shown. And that's something that you have to discover and feel for yourself, right? I've always known, I've done well, but I've never sort of taken time to actually sit back and, and actually appreciate it. And
So how do you do that in practice? You just really sit down and you think about like, okay, this accomplishment, and then what happens? Getting granular about the practicality of this process.
No, but just think back, and I'm thinking back about, okay, what have I accomplished so far in my personal life and in my business life? I just think, wow, we've done this and this and this, and you've been there and there and there. I've had some amazing trips. I'm thinking to myself, I always say this. I have a very blessed life. You have to take the good. Not the good, the good, yes. I wouldn't call it the bad, but life happens, right? Things happen in life. I'm very blessed. I'm extremely blessed, even when things are tough. And we're coming back to your question about taking the time. You either have had ambition all the time or you haven't. So to sort of just say, I take and sit back, and then my ambition will sort of die down, doesn't really apply to me. Because that is based on fear. All right. And ambitions can change over the years. And I think a lot of people perhaps just attach ambition to success in the business life or something like that. But the ambition can also to have a life that is more balanced, where they're appreciative of different things. So I think we all just have to also think of how everyone defines ambition for themselves.
Definitions. They're so important. It's something that I nudge my clients a lot about when they use some word. Now, what does it mean for you? What does it mean to be happy? What does it mean to feel free? What does it mean to have ambition? And so on and so forth. Because we throw those words around, but we don't understand what they actually mean for us. And then we're just running super quickly in darkness. And of course, we're hurting ourselves because we stomp into things and bump into them and we fall and triple over and so on. So definitions really can help us shine a light on where we're going and why.
Because I think for each phase in one's life, and I've been actually quite disciplined in that sense. For each phase in my life, I have tried to really define what my ambition would be. What am I willing to, not sacrifice, but what am I willing to set aside for a certain period in my life? And then how I step into the next. And I think when you have a fairly clear way of thinking about that, then ambition is always there. But the targets are different. And people sometimes say, they're moving targets. Yet they're moving targets, yet it's fine. But it's because, as you said, define ambition. Maybe, when the kids were growing up, the ambition was to ensure that they had very stable childhood, a lot of support from us, right? What would that mean? Okay. And then when they grown up, okay, then, you sort of let them go. And then you sort of switch into a different gear, which means ambition for myself. Which means
it's
also
so beautiful, the whole concept, Shamala. Thanks for sharing it, because I already have so many snippets from you that I will need to listen again and again. There's so much wisdom in the very simple words that you say, that you make it very accessible. And I really appreciate that. It's okay to have the moving targets, right? Our life is so long, and it's plain and stupid to put one goal for the whole life. And we just need to accept that there are different seasons. And as you said, it's not about sacrificing something forever, but it's more about setting your priorities clear and deciding and being intentional about what is my priority for this season of life, and how does it look like, and what will I pick up later in the next season. So thank you so much for those perspectives.
And then there's another thing as well. When one goes through life, things happen, and ambitions can and will change. Priorities will change. When you least expect it, priorities will change, and it's just to go with the flow, because it's no point fighting it, right? And I think change is constant. Every day is something new, right? And as far as I'm concerned, wow, today, every day, let's see what happens today. I know that sort of approach sort of doesn't doesn't go down too well with certain people. But for me, I want to say, okay, let's see what they can bring on. Because you never know what can happen during a day. Both the good and the challenging, right?
Yeah, it's acceptance, and that's the thing, that you're not fighting the nature, because in that fight you always lose. The nature will you cannot just stop the change. That's
Cannot
thing, like
change, right? So I
you
mean,
can
so
accept
but
it.
Mindkicker to me, it's just, I mean, it's always for me the curiosity. And I know people say curiosity keeps the cat, but no, I don't really believe that. Depends in which context, right? But in this case, it's definitely curiosity.
So, with your experience so far, we're not done. We're only halfway through the program, but you had the kickoff, you had follow-ups with us for half a year. What makes Mindkicker worth the money, the investment that you put into it?
Let me define the worth of money first. For me, money is a tool. Right? Money is the tool for me to be able to do things I really love and enjoy in life. Let's get that in. It's not an end goal as such in my life. Okay? Because to put it very simply, when I go, my money does not come with me. Okay? Right? So for me, what's really valuable or is and has been really valuable is the fact that just the thought processes change, right? There are things that perhaps I am not really conscious of that happening every day since Mindkicker. The way I think of things, the way I set things up, and then I refer to my notes, now and then I find, oh wow, I mean, it's I'm just continuing with what I started there, or continuing with things that I wasn't aware of that I was doing when I was already, before Mindkicker, right? Yeah. The simple thing, smelling the food, and the sense, because I was telling my husband, I said, don't play the food with me. I have a very strong sense of smell, right? And I try to keep developing that because I think that's quite fun, right? And just the curiosity, the curiosity again, right? Okay, what does this smell like? What does that feel like, And keeping touching things, going out somewhere, traveling or something, touching things, smelling things, right? Like a child. And in a way, what Mindkicker has really done is to remind me of the importance of going back to the basic.
Why do you think it's important to go back?
Because I think everyone's in such a rush all the time. Life, everything has to happen quickly. I mean, information overflow, right? Everything's happening so quickly. Change is quick. Fine, we have to be able to cope with it, but at the same time, I think it's easy for many to sort of lose that grounding. Back to basics is all about grounding, really. Yeah? Back to basics. Back to the basics, taste your food, smell your food, smell the coffee. I mean, things like that. Those are the things for me that has really made me sort of worth it, because I'm thinking about everything, give the thought process an extra round in my brain before I do something. It's fine. Sometimes stop myself as well, before saying something. Let me just sort of put a guard, and just say, okay, how are my choice of words, right?
You create space for yourself. And you said that those small things like smelling the food, really paying attention to the texture, smelling our coffee, those are the simple things that we can use so many times per day. And they can actually really increase the perceived quality of our life. Nothing changes on the outside. We live the same day, same schedule, meeting the same people. But just because we bring this intentionality and attention to that, you'll actually enjoy it. We're just running, as you said. I really love your analogy about the trains, when you're just like thinking about the next train, or you're still sitting on this one. And I thought about it. I had it so many times when I realized that I'm late for somewhere, but I'm stuck in the train. Back in Sweden, for example, with the trains, I had those examples, right? When you're sitting on the train, it's delayed, something is broken, and you're like freaking out because like something is like gonna be late and whatever, right? And I'm like, okay, can I do something about that? I'm in the middle of nowhere. No way I can get out of here quicker than this train or the track in front of us gets repaired. Why don't I just open my book and read? I get some extra time to read. And that's what you said. We are on this train right now. We are in this action, in this meeting, whatever it is that part of our day. Stop thinking about the next thing. Enjoy that you have this one right now.
That to me, I mean, that has been invaluable. Because it's something that, you sort of do every day, And to be perfectly honest, what you said it's quite true. When we actually take more time to actually sort of taste our food, smell our food and all that, something happens because I think the energy and the aura of oneself changes, Because there's more peace and you're sort of more in tune with everything happening around you. And basically put yourself in a happier mood. So just spread it around. It's fine.
It's physical, right? When we're talking about aura and so on, it is about even our electromagnetic field. And that really counts to people around us on a physical level by talking science, not some esoteric things that are just like you can choose to believe or not. This is science. So what you're talking about, we're really changing the physique of our body, and that is contagious. And that's also like, if you want to change something in the world, change yourself, and that will change your immediate environment, and that will change the immediate environment of those people, and so it spreads. Anything that you would like to share? You asked me permission because we usually don't disclose the program, so you asked me permission to share the exercises. But feel free to do that. Anything that you felt extremely or like especially pleased with or surprised during the kickoff itself? Any exercise that stayed with you?
I was not. No, the only thing that surprised me was the fact that we had these. When we went in, we tasted our food and then we were sort of smelling and things like that. That was the only thing that surprised me. But and to me, that was actually a lot of fun because it was fun to sort of. It was fun to actually. It's almost like a game, right? And we don't play enough as adults. We don't do that, right? Because everyone say, "Oh, they're so childish." So what? Yeah. Right? It's sort of, I think it's just, you should be able, the only time people say we can play with stuff, people say, oh yeah, if you're making bread and stuff like that. Forget that. You can play with things anyway. It's just how we, feel fruit and vegetables and things like that. Actually feel it and, actually feel it, not just go through the motions of washing it, chopping it up or making a salad or something. Actually feel the texture.
I love that you give this example with the preparation of the food. My husband was just so good at that. I'm more determined, like, okay, let's get it done. Or I'm actually more creative than playful with the food. I experiment with the flavors and so on, combinations, and put things together. And he's like, well, fit? I was like, it will. And it does. But he's more like, okay, making some fun faces, cutting stuff in awkward ways and things like that. So, and I think it's also just that because like that really makes our daughter interested in food and preparations and wants to help us to make some weird stuff with him. So they can bring more play into our lives. We're ever part of it, for sure.
So it's, just look at things. I can understand people say, oh, we don't have the time, or some people think that play has to be associated with that cost. It doesn't have to be, right? And this is what I think is a bit sad, really. A lot of the things that we can do on a daily basis is actually just part of our daily life, right? Take off your shoes and walk outside. If you're living where you have grass just outside your doorstep, or when you go to park or something like that. Get your hands dirty in the soil, right? Things like that. So, we were all very fortunate, to be able to have that, because that in itself is a luxury. And I think the more affluent societies have become, the more they have actually lost the sense of what are the basics. Okay, extremely sad, but I think it's quite close to the truth.
It's deep what you said right now. It's really about getting back to that basics, those basics, and enjoying, because that's where the joy is. It's not about simplifying your life to rob yourself of opportunities or anything like this. It's about giving you the rich, the real rich in your life.
Actually being appreciative of what you have, right? And not focus on what you don't have.
Yeah.
It is big, unfortunately. Also one of the diseases of our times.
I'm sure. Shamala,
More, less is more.
yes, going back to that, right? We started with that and we're going back to that. It's full circle in this conversation. Who do you think should join? If someone has listened to us and they're sitting on the fence, like, should I join Mindkicker? Is it the experience for me? Well, what would you say? Like, what kind of questions should they ask themselves to find the truth for themselves, whether that's a fit?
What am I afraid to lose when I have so much to gain? And what is there to lose? Another question they can ask themselves, do I want to be reflecting in a few years from now? What if I had joined Mindkicker? How would my life have changed? I try not to live with the word what ifs, personally. Always go for it. Okay. Maybe it didn't go exactly as planned, but I tried.
Yeah. And those regrets, and you don't have the regrets then when you
I don't like the regrets. I don't want to have the regrets. I mean, doing things that are within sort of reason, right? But if a possibility comes up, I had the possibility in 2022. Last minute, I was given the possibility. There's a place for you to run the Boston Marathon. It turned out to be, in that period of my life, it turned out to be a very good thing. And I thought to myself, if I don't do it now, am I willing to wait X number of years? I said, no, I'll do it now. And I did it. Right? I don't like the what if. And, for those who are listening, who are thinking and considering, if you have the opportunity, why not? It's a few days of your life which will have a lasting impact, I think, for many. In unknown ways. And that's the best part of it, in unknown ways.
That's not the scary part. That's not the best part.
No, it's not the scary part. The scary part would, and I must admit, I was hoping for really a dip in really ice cold river. So that's the bit I really miss. But I will not be joining this.
Yeah, I asked the hotel, is it possible to do that? And they're like, nah, not swimming here.
No,
So yeah,
but no,
I'll explore the surroundings to add it to the next time.
Yeah, do that. But no, it's what do you have to lose? What do you have to lose? Life's too short, I don't believe in postponing things either. Do it now.
Anyone who you think should not join Mindkicker?
Those who think it's a quick fix. Anyone who thinks that I'll attend Mindkicker, I would just be a ball from the sky and all my issues will be resolved in that weekend, I would say you'll be disappointed.
Yeah.
Because it's not meant for that, right? It's more sort of just sort of planting the seeds of change, planting the seeds of a different way of looking things, and those things take time, right? It's not a quick fix. Anyone looking for a quick fix? I hate to say this, but the Mindkicker is not for you.
I appreciate it, Shamala. That's definitely, and that's partially why we are so thorough. It's not like you can just click the button on the website and buy the program or join the group. We want to have the conversations. We want to get understanding what people are coming from, what is their motivation and intention, both to make sure that we actually can provide value for the people, for the participant themselves while joining, and also so that we can keep that space safe. Because I know that you, for example, appreciated it, and the other Mindkickers as well, how safe it felt to share, to open up to strangers within those 3 days. And that's because we do a lot of free work with Jonas before. And that's a very important part for us. We take it very seriously. And that's one of the things that we try to build away.
Whatever is said in Mindkicker stays in Mindkicker, by the way, just that all of you listening. And that's good. But quick fix, no. Don't expect a quick fix. Because I think sometimes there might be the fear that, or the hope that, especially if someone is having a few issues or things that they would really like help with, people might maybe hope that it will sort of solve everything. But, in that case, perhaps it's coaching with you or something. That's perhaps a better way rather than attending an extended weekend with follow-ups for a year. I don't know.
But no, well, work with me is also not a quick fix. So yeah, it's just generally not our lane with Jonas. Go with it. Shamala, I really appreciate you sharing so many wisdom nuggets there that teams leaders can take away, whether they decide to join the Mindkicker or not. Teams leaders, I really hope that this conversation has helped to clear some things for yourself. If you decide that Mindkicker is something for you, you're most welcome to reach out to me or Jonas and we can have the conversation. But even if not, I hope that you take a lot of these nuggets of wisdom, a lot of actions that Shamala has shared that can really help you in your life to really enjoy it, not just run for the sake of getting to the goal that you keep moving and you never actually reach, but actually enjoy the scenery, enjoy the process, enjoy the feeling in your body, everything. So take it, run with it, enjoy it. And Shamala, it's a true honor to be part of your journey. And I can probably speak for both myself and Jonas. It's a huge pleasure to work with you. And I'm learning from you probably just as much as you're learning from us. And I really appreciate it always. It's a beautiful exchange that it is a privilege to be a part of.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks, Anna. Thanks, Jonas, as well. For me, it's always great fun. It's always fun to learn, always. And I think we should never stop learning just because, we're sort of settled in our careers and sort of at a certain age. I say, just keep learning, So take the challenge, be curious, join Mindkickers. That's what I would say. You only live once, make the most of it.
Keep having fun, right? Yeah. Thank you so much, Shamala. And to your genius leaders, I want to remind you, as always, that I see you, I feel you, I love you. And I do believe that you can find your way to enjoy your life. So go and enjoy it. You are really worth it. Talk to you next week.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.